Welcome to Issues and Answers with Diane Kinderwater. Issues and Answers is presented as a public service to inform, educate, and better the lives of New Mexicans. And now, Issues and Answers with your host, Diane Kinderwater.
Welcome to the program. I'm Diane Kinderwater. On the show today, we're going to learn more about the New Mexico National Guard. We haven't had them on our program very often through the years here in Issues and Answers, but finding out what their service is to our community, to our state is very important. And I'm going to learn along the way with all of us here to see what their mission is, and when they're called on maybe national emergencies, what they do, what their role is. And we all know the National Guard, I think, can be part-time or full-time. So we're going to find out the difference there and why my two guests decided to join the New Mexico National Guard. Stay with us. We'll be back right after this. Welcome back to the program, New Mexico National Guard. Well, it's not confusing, but we've got New Mexico in there and then National Guard. So when do they serve our state? When do they serve our nation? We're going to try to find out today. From Sergeant Stoppel, thank you so much for being a part of the program. Robert Stoppel Jr., thanks for your service to the National Guard. And of course to Staff Sergeant Hammer, thank you for being part of this program. And both of you gentlemen enlisted not right out of high school, as we often hear about the military. Isn't that true?
That's correct.
So tell me a little bit about the mission, the difference between the National Guard, the New Mexico part, and the National Guard. You're called up to national service sometimes.
Yes, so the National Guard exists in all 54 U.S. states and territories, and we first serve our governor, then the needs of our state, and we can also be called to national service by the president.
In case of what?
In case of some sort of national emergency or through wartime.
So first serving the governor, Staff Sergeant Thomas Hammer,
Yes.
and then our president. Have you heard, you've been mainly serving the governor, isn't that true in your career?
Yes, ma'am. We serve in the capacity of like state emergency reliefs, for sure. During the flooding in Las Vegas and Roswell, or Ruidoso, I'm sorry, Ruidoso. We sent service members to those areas to help support those communities. The wildfires in those same areas, right before the floodings, we had service members there as well, supporting those communities and everything that they could need.
Do you know some examples of what they do?
It
Sergeant
could be
Stoppel?
things like filling sandbags or directing traffic. It could be delivering water or food, basic living necessities for those who may be displaced.
Do you know other examples, Staff Sergeant?
Yes. During the holiday season, Taos has a Taos Feeds Taos mission, and we help deliver all those food. They pack everything in the boxes, and then they load them up on our trucks, and we deliver out into the community.
Taos Feeds Taos, right?
Yes.
But they use the National Guard to deliver. Is this a nonprofit organization, and who are they feeding?
I'm not sure about that information. I just know that we help support in that community with one of our buildings and equipment.
Okay. Where do we have National Guard buildings?
Gallup, Rio Rancho, Albuquerque, Las Vegas, Las Cruces,
Oh.
Roswell,
Farmington.
Farmington.
And I think Santa Fe, there's a big National Guard. Isn't
Santa
that where
Fe,
the,
yeah, with
what do you call
headquarters.
that? What do you call that, Staff Sergeant Hammer in Santa Fe?
Joint Force Headquarters.
Joint Force Headquarters, okay. Well, when I drive up and down I-25, I see, I think, military equipment and things, so that's the headquarters of the New Mexico National Guard right there.
Yes.
Have you been up there?
Yes.
Doing what?
Instructing. At that facility, they have a regional training institute, and they have 2 schoolhouses there. One is to teach future non-commissioned officers, or NCOs, and another one is a schoolhouse to reclassify into motor transport operators.
So you were taking the class or teaching the class?
Teach the class.
What were you teaching? What were you teaching?
So one was to take the class at BLC to become a non-commissioned officer, and the other one was to teach the class to become a motor transport operator.
So you took them both?
Yes.
Are you a non-commissioned officer?
Yes.
At this point? The staff sergeant thanks.
So from sergeant rank on is non-commissioned officer.
Congratulations. And we can find that out why? By
The ranks, the stripes.
breaks here?
The stripes on
And
our
how about this
rank.
on your shoulders?
On the shoulders is the unit. How do they say it?
Unit insignia.
Insignia is your shoulder.
Yeah.
Great.
Yes.
Great, thank you. So, Sergeant Stoppel, how did you get involved in the National Guard, New Mexico National Guard?
Well, I'm from New Mexico, and I have family that was in the New Mexico National Guard, and so I decided I also wanted to serve my community, and took great pride in having that family history, so I decided to join.
You're a graduate of West Mesa High School.
Yes.
You attended UNM and received a degree in computer science, so you worked in that field for a while?
Actually, no. I got my computer science degree and went somewhere completely different in the civilian world.
What did you do?
I actually worked in the entertainment industry for 16 years.
What did you do?
Anything from stage production, lighting, touring management, things like that.
For 16 years, and then you decided?
Before it was too late, I wanted to join the National Guard.
At what age is too late to join? Is it 40, 39, 42?
I believe it's 42 now. Is that correct?
If you have a prior service, I believe. I don't know. It's always changing.
Yeah. When I joined, it was 34, was the cutoff age.
Oh,
You had to have enlisted before your 35th birthday.
so that's what you did.
That's correct.
What'd you decide? At 30, you're turning 34, you're about to turn 35. What were your decisions there?
It was do it now before it's too late, basically.
Now, did you start full-time or did you start on the weekends? We hear the New Mexico National Guard, you work in your full-time job and give, I think, what, 1 weekend a month
That's
and
correct.
2 weeks a year?
That's
So what did
correct.
you do?
Yeah, I was a traditional guardsman, so I only did the 1 weekend a month and 2 weeks a year, and then eventually got on active duty orders.
What does that mean?
That means I get to wear this uniform every day.
Well, what do you mean by active duty orders? I mean, did you choose to then become active duty?
Yes.
Full-time?
Yeah, it's a volunteer basis essentially. So if there's a position that's open, you can apply for it, and if you are accepted, then you can have the opportunity to get on active duty orders
How long were you part-time?
for about a year.
Okay. Did you think right away you were going to do the part-time the whole time, or did you think you wanted to get into full-time?
I knew I wanted to join the program that I was in because I have a legacy in that program.
And what is that?
The Joint Counter-Drug Task Force. My father was also in the Joint Counter-Drug Task Force.
What does he say the difference between that program when he was in compared to what you're doing?
I think it was a little more tough back in those days.
What do you mean by that?
Just things might have been more physically challenging, like not a lot of the same technologies or equipment that we have today. They kind of were figuring out what the rules of engagement were before they were established. So just a little more difficult.
Engagement in what? The war against drugs, or engagement in them preparing themselves?
Yeah, probably like how both, I would say, how they prepared themselves, also what their roles were in supporting law enforcement and community-based organizations.
Was your dad at the beginning of all this?
He was, yes.
Oh, okay.
Yeah.
Did he encourage you or suggest you continue on the legacy?
No, it was just something I wanted to do.
And what does he say since you've joined?
Unfortunately, he has passed, but I'm sure he would be really excited about it.
Very congratulations. And your story, Thomas Hammer?
My story was, I want to say a funny one. So I was encouraged by a coworker. He was a part-time Army, I didn't know the difference between the Guard or the Reserve.
Right.
And so I went online and I filled out the form, and a recruiter called me.
Wait. So you were working you're a graduate from Del Norte High School,
Yes.
and you worked in our community as a civilian doing
Yes.
what?
I was a truck driver.
Truck
so
driver.
I delivered goods to convenience stores and grocery stores.
Okay, you did that for a number of years,
Yes.
and a coworker said
that he was in the military, and he's like, have you ever thought about it? I was like, yeah, I've always wanted to be in, but just never had an opportunity to go. Like, somebody in my family always talked me out of enlisting for different reasons. And I finally had the family support that I needed to move forward with it. And it was at the right time too, because I was 34 years old. So
facing that cutoff.
yes.
But a coworker told
cutoff,
you, and you weren't sure
that
the
he was
difference
in.
between the Army. I mean, a lot of us aren't the Army and the National Guard.
Yes.
Okay,
So
so
the
what did
Army
he
has
say?
active Army, and my wife's like, no, I don't want you to go active duty because I don't want to move. You know, the kids are young. We want to have more stability for them. So I was like, okay, that makes sense, you know.
But a
So-
recruiter from the Army contacted you?
Yes, and they're in charge of recruiting for the reserves and active duty. So I was talking to the reserves. Well, come to find out that I had too many dependents. I had children, and my spouse as considered a dependent of mine, and I couldn't get a dependency waiver signed. So they brought my paperwork over to the National Guard. The recruiter contacted me, and they were able to, with my skills that I had as a civilian, were able to promote me above a lot of other people, and I didn't need a dependency waiver to enlist into the New Mexico Army National Guard.
But you kind of wanted the National Guard anyway. You didn't want the
Yes.
act, right?
Yes. So it was a blessing in disguise, for sure, that
Is that
everything
kind of funny
worked out.
part of it? You were saying it was kind of a funny story.
Yes. Definitely a funny story. And everything that was meant to be was meant to be. And I was able to enlist and fulfill my dreams of serving our country and state.
What have you been doing since? You were on this, you are currently on the New Mexico National Guard Joint Counter Drug Task Force. We did a program regarding this. But also prior to you enlisting, what were you involved with?
I was just a traditional guardsman, so I still was a civilian military person. So I worked in the civilian world, delivering goods and to convenience stores and grocery stores, and just doing the 1 week in a month, 2 weeks out of the year.
Mm-hmm.
And I did that for about 9 months, and then got into active duty orders with the Counter Drug Task Force.
And I learned what active duty orders are.
Yes.
So you wanted the full-time to work full-time as well?
Yes, absolutely. After my return back from basic and AIT, which is Advanced Individual Training, where you learn your job in the military, I knew that I wanted to do it full-time. So I loved putting on the uniform every day. I loved helping out. So I went into motor transport operator, which I was a delivery driver, so I drove trucks. And I loved every minute of AIT helping out my my fellow military people, you know, all the service members, and teaching them what I know about the trucks, because a lot of it translated over.
Sure.
And just helping them pass their tests, helping them do their parking maneuvers, helping them drive more proficient. And I was like, yes, this is something that I definitely want to do and continue on with, wearing the uniform every day, not just the 1 week in a month and every 2 weeks
When you
a
were
year.
doing it 1 week in a month, you enjoyed it then?
Yes, absolutely. It was still rewarding. Just being with new unit, you know, being proud to take pictures of our unit patches and sending them back to our friends from AIT and basic training, letting them know, hey, this is who I belong with now. It's a very proud moment.
You know, after 9/11, when of course our country was attacked, 2021, a lot of young men and women joined for patriotic reasons and to be proud, but that was, what, 23 years ago. So was that part of the reason why you wanted to join? I mean, to hear you feel so proud to wear the uniform every day makes me just smile.
Yeah, at that time, I would love to have joined during that time, but family members had, contacted me and let me know, hey, they didn't really support me. I had a new baby at that time as well, so I wanted to be a really good dad to him. That's something that I take in pride in as well, as being a father and wanting to support my kids and their dreams now. It wasn't just about me. But like I said, as I moved on in life, I had that family support now that was behind me. My kids weren't so young anymore and didn't need me as much.
How old are they now?
My oldest is 22 years old, and my baby, she's 13.
Congratulations, they sound lovely.
Yes.
But the pride, do you feel proud in the community? Do you feel respect for the uniform in the community?
Absolutely. Yes, and I ensure that others show that same respect to the uniform as well.
How do you do that?
Just wearing it with pride, making sure that it always looks good on the other people. If somebody has a mistake in their uniform, I make sure to let them know in a positive way as well.
But the young people in the schools and at the Balloon Fiesta and out in the community show respect.
Definitely. They come up to us and thank us for our service. Sometimes you see people coming out of their way just to walk up to us and say thank you for serving our country.
How does that make you feel?
Proud, for sure. I thank them. There's several different ways that you can thank somebody. You thank them for their support, and sometimes you can even say, you guys are worth it.
Wow, I've never heard that. That's amazing to be able to say that.
Yes.
Sometimes it seems like our society, they're not worth it. I'm sorry, but it's rough out there. It's very rough out there. I mean, you're putting your lives on the line for a community that sometimes doesn't respect the uniform, but how wonderful, Staff Sergeant Hammer, that you're feeling that way and to say you're worth it back. What would you like people to say to you? I mean, to you when they see you?
Just hello. I don't need the thank you for your service. I know it's going to happen, but I don't need that. I know what I'm doing for my country and for my state. But I know it's going to happen. But just say hello and, ask how we're doing or something like that.
You know how fortunate we did the other program with you, both of you, and to now hear you feel such pride for the uniform, for the New Mexico National Guard. You work with young girls and boys in our community, in the schools, regarding an anti-drug program. How wonderful that someone like you is touching the lives of our kids.
I like to think so. I show a lot of respect for the youth as well. I'll hold the door open for the youth as they're exiting the school at the end of the day. And as they're coming out of the classroom as well, I always like to try to give them a high five or knuckles or something, just to let them know that, hey, we're there with you guys.
Where did all the pride in you come from? Did it come from the New Mexico National Guard or from your family?
I believe it came from my family. My dad, he wanted to show me, to have a lot of respect for people and just in people in general. My mom, she would always take us out into communities, and she'd always have us, hold the door open for people and help people if they needed help, and not just to turn a blind eye to somebody who was in need.
How wonderful you had that upbringing. How fortunate for your life, and that's why I know you're in the schools trying, if our students don't have that from their family, that you're in there giving it to them. Thank you for sharing that. Okay, you're up next. Oh. You didn't get by.
So I feel the same as him. You know, I have a lot of pride for the uniform that I wear. I always try to make sure it looks good, and same with helping others make sure that theirs looks good. And I think that leading by example is a great way to do that. So showing respect to people in the community will help inspire that in other people, especially the youth.
That's tough. That's tough.
Yeah, so regardless of how they may feel about us, you know, it still is a wonderful feeling to be able to serve our community, our state, and the nation.
You, again, at age 34, decided to join the service. You did the part-time weekends and 2 weeks a year.
Yes.
And you were fortunate to receive the active duty
Yeah.
full-time position. And since then, I think most except for the first year, you've been in the New Mexico National Guard Joint Counter Drug Task Force.
That's correct.
So 3 years doing that?
Yeah, I'm on my third year, I believe. Yeah, third year. So the first almost half a year, a little bit more, was in training, so basic training, and then AIT, which is initial entry training in an active duty status. We still belong to the Guard, but we go to regular Army installations for that training.
Where did you go?
To Fort Sill
Where's that?
in Oklahoma.
Oklahoma.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah. So I spent my whole time there. It was a lot of fun, learned a lot of cool things, made a lot of great friends all across the nation, and was able to come home and bring that experience and serve my community with my unit here at home.
What do you think is the biggest misnomer perhaps about the New Mexico National Guard, what people don't understand out in the community that you can clear up?
I think a lot of times, you know, people may be afraid of how tough it can be, but you know, it can be difficult in a lot of ways, but it's strengthening. Like when you go through those difficult situations, right? It strengthens you as a person, ways, you know, internally, mentally, and strengthens you for the better, so that you can take that home and, you know, bring that to your family and your friends and your community.
What do you think is the biggest misconception out there about the New Mexico National Guard?
I think that what I feel like the biggest misconception is that when they join the military, that they're just going to go off and die, like go to war and die. I feel like
That happens, though. That happens.
I'm not saying that it doesn't happen. However, it's very rare that that's going to happen to a person after they join the service.
But those in active duty, you both are in active duty. As a member of the community, you feel that it does happen. It does happen, but especially when we face all the things we're facing in our country and the world.
Yeah, the possibility exists, but for guardsmen, the probability is low, just because we do serve our state first. Mm-hmm. And then being called to national service is not something that happens very often.
Let's cross our fingers and pray that it does not happen. Staying here, staying home, helping us here is what, actually we're hoping not to have to use you at all, right? We just have you there, and of course, keeping America strong means that we do have a strong military, and then we will hopefully face fewer threats if they know we're strong.
Definitely, yeah.
What do you want to tell folks, parents, kids, grandparents out there about the New Mexico National Guard and being in active duty, being a member of it?
The New Mexico National Guard is one of the best decisions that I've ever made for myself. I've had a lot of jobs in my life, and this is by far the most rewarding, best job that I've ever had. And don't be afraid to allow your child to join the Army National Guard.
Now, but be careful on what recruiter to talk to. Is that correct, Staff Sergeant Hammer?
No, absolutely not. No, the recruiters in the Army National Guard, like I feel sometimes they get a bad rap. Just having that recruiter status on them.
They don't let you go. I mean, once they got
I have a really good relationship with my recruiter. Still, after 8 years, he's now back in recruiting. He was a recruiter for a long time, and he went into education department to help service members get their education benefits, and now he's back in recruiting, and he is an awesome person, and that's why I feel
you're an awesome person. You're kind of unbelievable there.
No, he is a really good person. I have a really good relationship with him still, and that's why I feel like some people have bad raps with their recruiters. Like,
yeah, we see it in the TV, the movies, and things like that.
They work so closely with the units here in New Mexico that it's hard to like tell them misinformation because it'll get back to them. So the recruiters try to be as honest as they can with the community. That way they're not surprised by anything when they come back in, because they're going to work closely with them still.
Good to know. That is what we see in the movies about these recruiters chasing them down. Staff Sergeant Thomas Hammer, thank you again for being part of this program. And thank you for serving. Or just hi. Now we're going to say thank you. And again, Robert Stoppel, Sergeant Robert Stoppel, thank you for all you've done. Any last message you'd like to share?
You know, just to piggyback off of what Sergeant Hammer said, yeah, this is the best decision that I made in my life, and there's a great opportunity for experience and benefits for someone to join the New Mexico National Guard and take pride in serving your community and your state.
Can't say any better than that. Thank you again for your service. Thank you. And hello. Hello. Appreciate you, gentlemen, and all the men and women in the New Mexico National Guard here in our state. These gentlemen make me smile, though. Thanks for watching. We have pride in them, and we'll see you next time. Bye-bye.
Issues and Answers with your host, Diane Kinderwater, is presented as a public service to inform, educate, and better the lives of New Mexicans. To comment on today's program, email us at kchftv.org or call us at 505-345-1991. Join us again for Issues and Answers with Diane Kinderwater.